here, let me start it. Okay, so it's started now, and I'll do a quick review, and there's a slide here that we haven't covered. Um, the Megaspore has all 5 of these organisms in it. The Bacillus subtilis HU58 product has just this organism in it with all these great benefits. The Restore Flora with SAC-B has these 2 products, the Bacillus subtilis and the Bacillus clausii, with all of these additional benefits. If about 80% of individuals are going to be able to start with Megaspore, titrate it up, and our titration is a half to 1 capsule every other day for a week, and then a capsule a day, every other day for a week, and then 2 capsules a day. You take these during food because that's when probiotics were meant to be taken. Normally, they would come in with our fruits and vegetables. And as I said, most people, 80%, are going to do fine with that titration. They're not going to have any major symptoms. They can do the total gut restoration program and feel amazingly better. But it's the 20% that are sensitive that will take up 80% of your time if you don't identify them and understand that they're going to struggle because their immune system is so damaged, all 5 of the spores overwhelms them. And they will have the pushback will be a GI tract related symptom, such as gas, bloating, cramping, diarrhea, constipation, foggy thinking, hives, rashes, gut brain issues, depression, anxiety. Anything can and probably will happen for these sensitive individuals. So while you're titrating Megaspore, these are the folks that are going to call and say, I just took 3, been on it 3 days and I only took 2 capsules and I feel horrible, or I'm bloated like I'm pregnant, or, what are you doing to me? This is, so those are the ones you tell them to slow down. You break open the capsule, do a half a capsule every other day, and slowly work up. So half of those 20% are going to do fine. All they had to do was slow it down. But now you've got 10%, and slowing it down didn't help them. And so you have them cut the dose again in half. So half of those people are going to do fine. But in the end, you're going to have about 2 to 5% of individuals that it doesn't matter how much Megaspore you give them, they cannot even do a pinch of the powder. They immediately don't feel well. So those are the folks that you will want to stair step. You tell them to put their Megaspore to the side. They're going to get back to it, but they're going to start with the HU58, which is just the 1 spore. They're going to do great on it because it's very easily tolerated. And then they're going to graduate to the 2 spore probiotic, and they're going to feel great. And then they're going to be able to start titrating the Megaspore, and they're going to do fine. So this is just a process that we learned because the people that jumped in with the recommended dose right away, that's how we found out 80% did great, 20% would never use our product again because they felt horrible, but nobody told them that this is exactly what they need. They just need to go slower because the microbiome finds homeostasis. It does not want to change. And so if you're going to change a sick gut, you have to do it slowly and sneak up on it and be able to get the bacillus grounded in there so it can colonize, and then it launches an attack and deals with the pathogens that are preventing the shift. So that's one of the ways that you will use the 3 different probiotics in a protocol to help those people with the most severely damaged immune systems and damaged epithelium and dysbiosis. The other way you would use these 3 different probiotics is all at once when you have someone in a serious overgrowth situation like a Clostridia difficile, C. diff, or a MRSA, an Escherichia, food poisoning, a severe SIBO, at that point, these individuals do not care about die-off. They are concerned about going to the hospital or not. So we're able to put, by taking 2 Restore Flora at breakfast, 2 Megaspore at lunch, and 2 HU58 at dinner, what we're doing is we're competitively excluding that pathogen. We can mitigate some of this, the die-off, by adding that Mega IgG 2000, and I'll show you a slide of that. So you'll remember, we use that product anytime someone is having a lot of die-off, a lot of toxicity, a lot of symptoms, to just calm the immune system down and help the spore process be better tolerated. So do you have any questions about the overgrowth way we use these protocols, or the titration stair-step protocol to help sensitive individuals?
No, it makes a lot of sense. I will probably go back and listen to this. Okay, could you give me a good definition for die-off? I mean, is that, I know it mainly happens with Candida overgrowth, but I know it happens with SIBO and with leaky gut as well. And I'm guessing, because like I said, I'm not completely trained in these things, I'm still learning, is that all of these pretty much, I'm not saying they're the same thing, but they all have the same root cause, and that's dysbiosis.
Exactly. And die-off is generally going to be the lipopolysaccharide from the gram-negative bacteria, the exotoxins from the Candida, or the type A or type B Clostridia toxins, or any of the other armory that these pathogens have available. So what they're doing is they're reaching systemic circulation through the vagus nerve, and that's how some of these toxins can travel to the brain. And that's the most extreme case of the gut-brain connection. But they also affect the body everywhere in between. They, of course, are causing gut issues, which is going to be obvious in the gas, bloating, cramping, constipation, diarrhea, but they can also travel through the body, affect joints, such, rheumatoid arthritis, and just by increasing the inflammation, they can effectively touch every tissue and gland and organ of the body. So there isn't anything really off the table in the uniqueness of what a person would describe as die-off. And that's, when I try to talk to a client or a patient, I really open that up to anything can and probably will happen. And your case is going to be so unique, like a fingerprint, than anybody else's case. You just need to stay in touch with me so that I know, so I can recognize, hey, this is probably die-off. We need to get on this so that we can neutralize it. There's natural things you can do, exercise, drink more water, do some intermittent fasting, eat more vegetables. There's some anti-inflammatory things they can do, but there's also some products we can help as well. And that IgG 2000, I'll jump down to that slide because it is in powder form in the last step of the program, but we also make it in a capsule form, because when you recognize this person is going to have a hard time with compliance because they are having so much die-off, you can pre-treat the gut to calm everything down before you even start. If this is someone who has a history of every single thing they try to do that's new, anything you've ever recommended for them, they have an issue with, then you can calm everything down by starting this as a pre-treatment. This is a nutraceutical product at 4 capsules a day, but there is a pharmaceutical drug that is the same ingredient, but at double the dose. And if you're familiar with Interrogame, that is the same raw ingredients, and it's very effective at helping the immune system see these toxins, whether it's a pathogen or a lipopolysaccharide or any number of other endo or exotoxins. And what it does when it binds to these, it's basically putting a flag on them to flag down the immune system to come in and clean it up. And so it's going to help both situations of someone who has had long-term issues and have low secretory IgA, or this is a recent effect and they have too high of secretory IgA because it can't keep up with the toxic load. This is an old product in that it's been in the market about 60 years. It's been very effective in the animal market. It single-handedly saved the piglet industry in the United States. So there's about 32 different publications where it's focused on the different antigens that it neutralizes. We're primarily, interested in its effect on lipopolysaccharide and the toxins A and B of C. diff, but it's also great to include with anyone with, Helicobacter pylori or any other form of food poisoning that, might show up. But like I said, 32 different publications. So it's great with food sensitivities. It's great with young children. It's very well tolerated. And it's simply a serum-derived concentrated immunoglobulin. So it's like colostrum, but it's not from milk, so you don't have any milk interactions. So do you have any questions about the use of the Mega IgG 2000 for die-off and what will cause die-off?
Yeah, okay. Just because you mentioned diet again, I kind of understand this. I hope I get to keep some of these slides because this is very helpful to me. But what is there a difference between die-off and Hertzheimer reaction per se?
No, die-off generally causes a Hertzheimer reaction. So that they're really one and the same.
Okay.
When people herx, some people will call it a healing crisis, but it's still talking about the same thing. If you have symptoms when you're healing, and it's going to be unique to the person, but that's what generally is causing the damage is these toxins that are being released from the organisms as they're being competitively excluded from the community. So I'm just sharing this presentation with you while you mentioned it so that I don't promise it and not deliver. So you should have that access coming to your email. Okay. Okay. So we recognized that the first step was to get the probiotics into the microbiome, into the environment, to make an effect on the communities in one way or the other. It'll take some people sometimes longer than others to get there. The second step is to introduce the food, these indigestible fibers to humans, but desired fiber for these organisms. And these are derived from corn, kiwi, and milk, but they have no food proteins in them. They're highly refined oligosaccharides, and they will help those keystone strains get a foothold in the environment. And this study we did was a Scheim test. This was done in Belgium. Again, this is the best way to look to see how a microbiome is affected and what probiotics and what ingredients are actually doing. We found that Megaspore jumpstarts these initial inoculum that we receive from our mother, and that the prebiotic helps them to thrive. So Megaspore helps by 20%, but the oligosaccharides help by 80 to 140%. The focus is on feeding and grounding the bifidobacteria, the lactobacillus, the prevotella, the Facellum pranitsii, and the Akkermansia. So those are very important because, and this is, some patients will say, how long do I have to stick with this program? How much, the effort, the cost, the commitment. And really the answer is, how long is it going to take to give these organisms a foothold so that they're running the show? Because once they're in charge, they maintain the gut integrity. And then it's a matter of maintain your lifestyle so that you don't destroy them again.
Yeah.
The third and final step of that total gut restoration is to help the mucin 2 layer recover and heal. And we already talked about the ingredient of IgG 2000. That is in this canister in a powder form to do what we had talked about, everything that the immunoglobulins do, but it's also going to contain specific amino acids that the goblet cells use to make mucin 2. And then the third ingredient is a potent antioxidant to quell the inflammatory cascade that's happening in the gut. And these citrus polyphenols are also prebiotics for the good gut bacteria. So it's going to help with microbial diversity and short chain fatty acid production, which is all important for the mitochondria of these organisms so that they can flourish and repair. This is the study that we based which amino acids to use, and it's the threonine, serine, proline, and cysteine. And it's very significant in how they help because it's going to increase that colonic mucin synthesis by 95%. So that's an important boost. This article is just reminding us that, again, it's important to heal and seal the epithelial barrier because it's that crucial point, where that break happens in that epithelial lining, that all of these pathogens, toxins, and undigested food is causing the problem. So this very point is the genesis for inflammatory bowel disease, autoimmune disease, and systemic infection. So, again, we got to remind ourselves, healing and sealing the gut will affect all chronic illness. And that really concludes the foundation. Getting, each of these individuals through that process. And, we've tried to make it easier by providing all of these products in a good looking box that has all of the directions right on the lid. They can get the prebiotic in a capsule form, or they can get the prebiotic in a powder form. The 3 months worth of the spores, instead of 3 bottles of the 60, you're going to get 1 big bottle that has 180 count. So that'll carry them through the 3 months. Each one of these prebiotic is a single month. And then the last month that you add the mega mucosa is all, contained in this box. But it's still in the beginning setting expectations. If you're doing a stool test, you might have a better idea how to tweak their protocol. But if you're going into it just looking at an individual's response, then learning what this die-off looks like and what to add to help with that die-off, or what titrating too fast looks like and how to slow it down, when to add the individual probiotics to help with the Treg, training of our immune system. That's these spores, these bacillus spores specifically work on our Treg cells. And those are the ones that are important for our immune system's recognition of what's good and what's bad. So we want to bring that function back to the immune system, and how we identify someone struggling with that and how we, slowly titrate these different products. It really comes to customizing the protocol based on the patient's response. Most people, like I said, 80% can fly through the program, but singling out and recognizing that 20% is going to be important so that they have a good experience, but letting them know they're going to have, it's going to take longer for them. Any questions so far?
Mainly because they're just sicker and it's going on longer for them. Or I guess possibly they inherited bad gut health too. I guess that's possible.
Absolutely. You know, a lot of misinformation was propagated by probiotic companies that had no real research. You know, they did petri dish research, and that does not simulate a real gut environment. And the assumption that the uterus is sterile is wrong. You know, the health of the mother is definitely influencing the fetal microbiome, the type of delivery, whether it's vaginal or C-section, greatly influences the initial inoculum, and whether the mother breastfeeds or not is a great influence. And after 2.5 years, that infant to child microbiome development is mature, is done. That at 2.5 years, the window to add a resident organism into the gut is over. And so the idea that you can replace or reseed or, you know, dramatically change a microbiome is false. You know, these spores that we introduce are transient. They were meant to be transient. They come in with the food, they go out with the poop. They come in with the food, they go out with the poop. They stay about 21 to 24 days to perform a very important function, and they move on. You know, we're linked synergistically with the soil in that way. But you don't want a man-made fermented organism to be implanted into someone's gut because it's not natural. The community will not accept it. So you can influence the microbiome, you can't reseed it unless you do a fecal transplant. And even then, the terrain that you create will probably revert those organisms back to the original seed that was stored in your appendix from your mother. So it would only be temporary. So, any questions?
Okay, yes. I'm trying to get my brain back to where you were. Um, okay, can a pregnant woman be on these? If they're pregnant while they're on these, could that help when they're on the if or you know, I don't see a problem with them taking them while they're during pregnancy because all they are is it's just gut flora. It shouldn't affect the baby. It's not gonna move into the baby's system, or maybe more thinking prior to pregnancy, like pre-pregnancy vitamins or something like this. Would that have any effect on the baby's gut health or the fetus's gut health?
A huge effect. And even though it's unethical
Okay.
to have pregnant women in clinical trials, and we have not done that. So I'm telling you, there's no research to support this, but we do have tens of thousands of clients, patients that are under the care of practitioners that have observed, have recommended that um, women who are pregnant, they try to get to them before they're pregnant, because what they're seeing is that, you know, a woman carrying a fetus, uh, if she's had amalgams, if she has bad gut health, if she's had vaccinations, that all of her prior health condition is going to have an effect on this fetus. So cleaning all of it up before she's pregnant, of course, is optimal or is ideal, but it's not always possible. Helping her with good gut health um, is still going to help the fetus, even though it's, you know, you get to her as soon as you can. What you have to be very cautious of is, again, everyone's gut health is very unique. Some people will have a dramatic reaction to Megaspore. Um, and we have to be cautious of that. That's why we titrate slowly, and extreme cautious with pregnant women, because if they experience any cramping whatsoever, we do not want to affect that developing infant, that developing fetus. So um, as long as she understands the risk and agrees, that to notify you if there's any side effect whatsoever, even though it's very rare, we still want to err on the side of caution. But, well,
One last
that,
thing, and I'll let you go because
yes,
I
go
know
ahead.
our time's just like seconds away.
Yes.
One of the coworkers, I got her started on the Megaspore, and she says that her teeth feel better. And I think that's a great thing because the gut flora affects the oral flora. It's all I mean, it's not the same, but it affects that. She's feeling her teeth. She's feeling it in her teeth. She says her teeth feel cleaner. Have you
Absolutely.
heard of this?
Yeah, well, we've got a clinical trial on periodontal disease.
Periodontal, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you will find that all the ancillary satellite microbiomes are going to be affected. And that's why we have a huge diverse, I would recommend that we stay in touch. Let's do another Zoom and get into these um, different situations deeper each month. I think that would be good, that um, you've got the continuous education going. If you want to do that, let's just plan on that.
I would love that. The other thing is, can you like recommend some research or books or things like this to kind of get my knowledge? So I can get on this learning curve? I don't mind being behind, but I don't want to stay behind.
Uh, Absolutely. Yeah. And again, we've got several good resources on our website. I'll send you some emails. Reading the calcium paradox is great, to get in on all the benefits of the K2, which help the microbiome, help the teeth, help the bones. So that's a good one too. But yes, I will send you an email and list some resources, and we'll just keep growing in this.
Thank you so much, Tracy. I've got another patient coming in right now.
Okay,
There's so
super.
many questions I want to ask you about K2 and your thoughts about cod liver oil and things like that, but I'll email them to you.
Super. That sounds great. You're welcome to do it and reach out anytime.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, take care.